As scary as change may seem, avoiding it will be much scarier. Change is an inevitable part of life. Even if you're someone who goes out of your way to actively avoid it as much as possible, you've changed. You may not have made any big changes in recent years, but you definitely haven't been the same person all your life. Given that we all have a degree of first-hand experience with change, it's surprising how many of us still fear it, opting to instead stay in the place commonly referred to as our comfort zone. And as cozy as the word comfort makes it sound, I personally have a hard time believing that it's actually comfortable for many of us, you included, given that you decided to click on this video. All that a comfort zone really is familiar and most of the time predictable. We have that job that we know and it pays our bills. We have those friends that we know and they fill our social cup. And we have those hobbies that we know and they help us pass the time. Sounds pretty good, right? The primary reason I believe that our comfort zone isn't actually that comfortable is that although solely doing what we've come to know and trust may be inherently enjoyable at some level, it rarely seems to show up without its unofficial sidekick, regret. You stay in that job that, yes, pays your bills, but that you also regularly proclaim to hate because you fear that one day you may regret quitting. You stay in the relationship or maintain the friendship that, yes, fills a part of your social cup, but you also know is unhealthy for you because you fear that you may one day regret letting them go. And you keep doing the same hobbies that you've been doing your entire life to help you pass the time because you fear that you may regret trying something else. I mean, what if you got another job and it was even worse? Or the business idea you've been daydreaming about never gains any traction and flops? And what if your current partner, despite all the glaring red flags, ends up being your best shot at true love? It's stories like these that tend to keep us stagnant, which can be okay when it comes to more harmless things like a hobby, but where we instead often find ourselves opting for stagnancy is in the things that we know deep down we'd love to break out of. So how do we stop fearing change? First things first, realize that you weren't born in your current comfort zone. Everything, and I mean everything, that you are now accustomed to or largely unchallenged by was once outside of your comfort zone. Whether it be by force, chance, or curiosity, you, at some point, thrust yourself into it or opened the door to it, and before you knew it, it became a part of you. So of course you can do it again if you choose to. Second, realize that change doesn't always need to be monumental. That may seem obvious, but we are bombarded with personal stories, books, TED Talks, and even YouTube videos where people share these dramatic shifts that they've made in their life and why we too need to consider making them. Yes, change can be monumental, but that's not a prerequisite for it. Change can be as seemingly simple as trying that new supplement to see if it helps, or making a point of making more meals at home rather than always ordering in, or downloading that dating app that your friend found their now partner on. As seemingly insignificant as a lot of these smaller changes may seem, they can still have a positive impact on you. And long term, they can help in making bigger changes seem more possible. So even if you have a monumental change or two that you would like to make that seems daunting, don't let the size of that seeming mountain stop you from conquering some of the hills next to it. The same thing goes for those of you who have a bigger change that you'd like to make, but your current circumstance legitimately makes it something that's not easily possible at this time. Rather than sulk in the energy of being stuck in what can't be changed, look for and take action on the smaller changes that you can more easily make to help make the environment surrounding you at least a little bit brighter. A third and final tip to help you overcome your fear of change is to remind yourself that it doesn't need to and likely won't go perfectly. Again, the people who tend to boast about their recent big changes in life typically don't give you the full picture of their process. Rather than show you the true depth of their initial struggles and setbacks, they have a tendency to make everything seem very linear and rewarding, especially if you're engaging with their story through the lens of social media. Reminding yourself that change can and likely will be challenging will help to prevent you from just dipping your toe in and then cowering back to your comfort zone the second that the going gets tough. Persist. And even though no one can guarantee that things will work as hoped, you can rest assured that at least things didn't stay as they were, which you knew you were unhappy in. Now, before I move on to some smaller, simple changes that I believe we can all make today, I do want to clarify that I'm not recommending that we all immediately take action on every single change we've been putting off out of fear. A lot of the bigger things have a lot of moving parts to be considered. I am simply encouraging you, as a fellow human being with just as many issues as you, to look into the stories that are holding you back from making certain changes in your life. Are they rooted in sound logic? Or are they instead founded in one of the millions of different ways we can convince ourselves that we simply aren't capable or good enough? So for those of you who know what changes you'd like to make, but have been putting them off for various reasons, now is as good of a time as any to remind yourself that you are capable of taking that leap. But what about those of us who know we don't want to keep things as they are, but aren't exactly sure what changes to make? Here are some simpler suggestions that personally have made a big difference for me. Number one, set better boundaries. Whether or not you consider yourself a people pleaser, we all have a person or two that we regularly extend ourselves for despite our best interests. I'm not suggesting that we make ourselves completely unavailable to those around us. I'm simply suggesting that we make a more concrete effort to say no to that which doesn't resonate, so that we can make more time to say yes to that which does. Number 2, cut back on screen time. We're all addicted, and if you happen to be one of the rapidly diminishing holdouts, which is unlikely given that you're watching this right now, but if you are, run and never look back. Consciously cutting back on screen time and challenging ourselves to fill that time with other things that benefit us is, for many of us, one of the easiest ways for us to make a big change in our life starting today. Even stop watching this video right now. Okay, don't, because I still have a couple valuable things to share, but after this, for real, put the phone down. Number 3, cut the comparison. This one definitely goes hand in hand with the other one, since social media, for most of us, is our primary source of comparable content these days. But I hate to break it to you, there will always be someone, if not many someones, that will always be better looking, more talented, or more well respected than you are. And I guarantee you that if we were to ask them, they too would feel the same way. While some will credit a level of comparison as a motivating force in their life, there are far more of us who instead use it as a fuel to shut down our dreams and or justify further lingering in our comfort zone. Number 4 is my personal favorite, and it's a simple 3-step process. Number 1, make a list of everything you like to do. Number 2, make a list of everything that you currently do on a regular basis. Number 3, adjust accordingly. Not by immediately ditching everything in list number 2 for everything in list 1, but instead by making more time for that which is on list 1 by eliminating some of what unnecessarily exists on list 2 and expanding from there over time. So what change are you currently convincing yourself that you can't make? Remember, there will always be the potential risk that what you opt out of will thrive without you, and what you opt into will never take off. But stop selling yourself in the idea that avoiding that potential scenario is somehow better than keeping things as they are when you already know that you are presently unhappy.